Hello, everyone. You are about to hear a brief retelling of the 1994 Stargate movie. Enjoy the movie. Egypt, 1928. A professor of archaeology and his daughter arrive at the excavation. The local foreman, overcome by a storm of positive emotions, shows the boss a find. A round slab with many Dana unseen hieroglyphs. While the professor's daughter admires the found medallion with the symbol of RA, the workers raise a huge hula hoop with the same symbols as on the found slab. The professor is amazed by the find, which resembles some high-tech device, huge in size. 66 years later, the professor's already elderly daughter comes to a symposium on ancient Egypt. Before the scientific community is Dr. Daniel Jackson, he furiously tries to prove that the Pyramid of Cheops was built long before the 4th dynasty of the pharaohs. But the entire audience is outraged by such claims. His theory is perceived by the audience as nonsense, and the audience hurriedly leaves the performance. At an exit from a building, it approaches an unknown person and asks to sit down in the automobile. And the car waiting for him is the same Catherine Lanford, the professor's daughter. She is already aware of all the details of Dr. Daniel's life from a detailed dossier. The woman offers the guy a job to decipher ancient Egyptian writings. Daniel tries to refuse, but Catherine convinces him to think about the proposal. Sometime later, 2 military men come to the main Colonel Jonathan O'Neill. The man is crushed with grief over the death of his son, who while playing with a gun accidentally wounded himself. The military reports to O'Neill that he has been restored to friendship. The next day, Daniel arrives at a military research center that is set up in a former nuclear bunker. He is met by a group of scientists who show the doctor a slab found 66 years ago in Giza. Amazed by what he sees, the doctor explains that the slab depicts hitherto unseen hieroglyphics. Daniel's task is to decipher their meaning. As a professor of archaeology, he immediately finds inaccuracies in the interpretation of some of the inscriptions. He now understands why the military is interested in 5,000-year-old writings. But the colonel enters and corrects the scientist, informing that the analysis showed the age of the discovery of 10,000 years. He is appointed head of the project, and all information from that moment has acquired the status of classified, and literally every decision must be coordinated with the colonel. 2 weeks later, Daniele is still unsuccessfully trying to unravel the meaning of the unknown symbols. There is no logical sequence in them, and the writing itself does not resemble any known ancient language. However, when he heads out for an extra cup of coffee in the middle of the night, he notices an image of the constellation Orion on the guard's paper. Snatching the sheet of newspaper from the military man unceremoniously, he compares the image to the Illumina writing and realizes that all the symbols are just constellations. So a council is called. Daniel reports the results of his research. The symbols are coordinates for space travel. The military is amazed that the guy managed in 2 weeks to decipher the meaning over which 2 years other scientists fought. The colonel presses the good to show Daniel what was behind the facing stone. He sees the very discovery before him. The Stargate is made of a mineral that doesn't exist on Earth. A team of technicians inputs the data decoded by the scientist into the computer, followed by a sequence of symbols from the facing stone. Daniel immediately manages to decipher the basic symbol for the starting point, the planet Earth, which is depicted slightly differently on the gate than on the facing stone. Thanks to this, the group of specialists successfully activates the device. A huge funnel is formed in the center of the gate. The surface then assumes a more stable state. The military launches a drone with a bunch of sensors inside. The drone passes through the gate and before they shut down, manages to transmit information about its location. It's in another galaxy. Having analyzed atmospheric data, scientists conclude that on the other side of the gate the atmosphere is absolutely identical to Earth's. The drone managed to transmit an image of a part of the Stargate from the other side. It shows completely different symbols. The military intends to study the symbols first, then continue the mission, but overexcited because of Daniel's success assures him that he will be able to decipher them if he gets to the other side. After much deliberation, the military mimics the group with equipment to explore a gate in another galaxy. Daniel takes with him a pile of literature devoted to the study of Egyptian civilization. Catherine gives him a medallion found 66 years ago, the medallion symbolized by Ra. The technicians start the gate and the group with all the equipment goes through the portal. After teleportation, Frost appears on the people. After regaining consciousness, the group passes to the ancient corridor and finds themselves in the middle of the desert on an unknown planet. The structure where the gate is located on this planet is an exact replica of the Pyramid of Cheops in Egypt. While the military gathers data about the area, Daniel circles around the structure in search of information. The colonel commands everyone to wrap up and go to the ground, but Daniel says that to decipher the symbols, he needs a facing slab like the one that was on the ground. Without it, he will not be able to open the gate. Everyone is puzzled that Daniel didn't warn them about this before sending them to another planet. One of the military pushes the scientist in anger. The colonel calms the soldier down. I hope you understand why all the soldiers reacted so violently to the news that they will be stuck in this desert for a long time. Back at the camp, one of the soldiers again takes to drilling the scientist for his inaction. At this time, the colonel puts the atomic bomb on alert. His assistant arrives and Balkan successfully hides the explosive device from him, hence out of the entire group only Colonel Anil is informed about it. And he has a separate mission, secretly from all the members of the expedition. Meanwhile, Daniel is sitting down to eat a snack among the dunes. His eyes fall on mysterious footprints in the sand. He sets out to investigate them and finds a huge animal in harness that looks like an earth ox. Daniel sees that the animal is interested in his Mishka bar in the north, but the military men who come up warn him off. By patting the animal, Daniel unknowingly gives it the command to run. He hooked his foot on the reins and the cattle dragged him several alien kilometers to some primitive settlement. Noticing the symbol of RA on one of the aliens, the natives immediately fell to their knees before them. The military takes a sample of the mineral extracted by the Aborigine with a special instrument. Analysis shows that it is the same mineral from which the stargate is made. The leader of the settlement comes out and tries to communicate with the aliens, but they do not understand their language. They greet the aliens with a drink, and in return Daniel treats the leader to a bear in the north. Delighted by the taste of the bar, the elder invites the aliens into the town. In the middle of the town hangs a symbol of Ra, who is worshipped by all the inhabitants as the only god. Balkan realizes to what they owe this warm welcome. A strong sandstorm begins, all the inhabitants hide in their homes. The military who remained in the camp try to contact the colonel by radio, but the natural disaster causes strong radio interference, so they take refuge in the pyramid. In the evening, the locals honor the strangers with local delicacies. The colonel suggests that since they have one Egyptian symbol, they may know their writing. Daniel tries to write his question in the sand, but the elder erases the hieroglyph in fear and in a panic orders everyone to turn away. He orders the women to take Daniel away. They wash the boy in the tent, and then the girl he was attracted to earlier comes in. Without further ado, she gets down to business, but the embarrassed scientist asks her not to undress. He wants to kick her out, but sees the elder at the entrance. Then he tries to just chat with the local hottie. He learns that her name is Shayuri, then tries again to establish communication via letter. Although she is obviously frightened by the forbidden letter, the girl ends up writing back with a symbol representing the planet Earth. The scientist asks her to take her to the place where she saw this symbol. Meanwhile, the military in the pyramid tries unsuccessfully to contact their counterparts in the settlement. A giant flying machine appears above the pyramid, which caused that storm and radio interference. It's like a dome covering the structure. All the military inside are attacked by an unknown creature with advanced plasma weapons. The creature is clad in technological armor reminiscent of an Egyptian deity. The girl leads Daniel to a cave written in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics. Her pronunciation of all the hieroglyphics is significantly different from what Daniel knows. That's why he doesn't understand their language. The girl teaches the scientist the correct pronunciation. In the meantime, the colonel is barely able to explain to the local teenagers that he needs to find Daniel. One of them gives the scientist's jacket to his pet to pick up the trail. Thanks to this, the colonel finds the professor with a girl. Daniel has already mastered the rules of pronunciation. All the difficulty was only in vowels. He tells the colonel that according to the wall writings, the history of their civilization on this planet began with a star traveler who left his dying planet to prolong his life. His body was rotting from old age, and he traveled the galaxies to cheat death. He came to Earth where he encountered a primitive people. The wanderer realized that in a human body he could prolong his life, so he took possession of the body of a young boy. Having acquired human form, he proclaimed himself God. With the help of the Stargate, he transported thousands of people to this planet to slave labor in the mines, to extract a mineral that is the basis of his technology. With this mineral, he could live forever, but on Earth the people revolted when they realized who he really was, and the Stargate was hidden. Afraid that on this planet too, the miners would revolt, he banned reading and writing. They find in this cave a facing slab with a set of Earth coordinates. But unfortunately, the last symbol denoting this planet, that is the starting point, is destroyed. And without it, they may open a gateway to an unknown destination. Meanwhile, the only surviving military man from the pyramid is dragged to the very RA, who reconstructs his body in a special sarcophagus. The four men leave the settlement and head to their camp near the pyramid. Daniel reluctantly says goodbye to his new girlfriend. A group of teenagers from the settlement sneakily follows them. The men notice a flying machine above the pyramid as well. They sneak inside the pyramid and discover abandoned equipment. A local guardian appears and shoots the two military men with his plasma staff. All this is watched through the window by the teenagers from the settlement. The colonel and the scientist go down to the gate, where Neil immediately tries to activate the atomic bomb, but he discovers that the bomb is no longer there. A hatch opens, from which another guardian descends from the ship using a teleporter. Eventually, the colonel and the scientist are surrounded by several guards and they surrender. They are taken to the ship, the interior of which resembles a pharaoh's palace. Ari appears before them, surrounded by children. They bring the bomb the colonel was looking for. Ari thinks that they have come to destroy him. He orders his guards to remove their masks. Underneath are ordinary people, but R.A. is still in the body of the young man he took possession of several thousand years ago. Balkan snatches the staff from one of the guards, and a firefight ensues, killing Daniel. The children cover Roz with themselves, causing the colonel to be unable to fire, and is immediately stunned by another guardian. Roz notices a medallion with his symbol on Daniel's chest. The colonel is thrown into a pit where he meets three other military survivors in some liquid. While the teens from the settlement investigate the abandoned weapons at the military camp, two stormtroopers fly out of a spaceship. As punishment for assisting the aliens, the stormtroopers shoot up the settlement, killing many locals. Teenagers come running into the settlement. The head tells his son that Ross punished him for helping the aliens, and he regrets it. Daniel regains consciousness in Ra's recreational sarcophagus. There is no trace of the wound on his body. R.A. confesses to him that he chose the human race because our bodies are easy to repair. He has studied the books that Daniel took with him and is impressed by the technological advances that have occurred during his absence on Earth. But the inhabitants of Earth are now a danger to him, so he intends to send an atomic bomb back to Earth with his mineral, which will increase its power 100-fold. He needs Daniel to execute his friends in public in front of the locals. Meanwhile, Daniel's friend leads the teenagers to a cave with writings. She tells everyone present what the professor told her about who R.A. really is. According to these writings, where their people came from and how humans evolved on Earth through freedom. The next day, R.A. summoned all the inhabitants for a public execution. The Guardian hands the scientist a staff. Daniel points the staff at the military. At that moment, the guys from the settlement give him a sign that they are ready to fight. The guy turns around and fires a shot at Roz, and a scuffle ensues, during which the Earthlings manage to blend in with the crowd. Despite heavy casualties during the escape, the men with the advance party celebrate their small victory. Everyone present is ready to go into battle against Roz and his fighters, and only the colonel is against the idea. Because he knows firsthand how dangerous it is to trust children with weapons. Balkan admits that his assignment was to send the squad back to Earth, and to stay on this planet and destroy the stargate on this side, and if he sees any danger, he will send it to Earth, along with the mineral he mines here, and then its explosion will be 100 times more powerful than a normal bomb. The guards report to RA that they have failed to locate the fugitives. RA, in anger, executes one of his soldiers. At the camp, the children laugh at Daniel, who is trying to cook dinner. Daniel realizes that the night Shori came to him was the night of their wedding. However, the guy is even happy about this turn of events. He approaches the girl and kisses her. After carnal pleasures, he notices the son of an elder who are drawing symbols of their planet on the wall. Daniel realizes that this is the symbol lost on the plaque, marking the starting point. The next day at the quarry, the military kills one guard. The elder tries to stop his son, but the young man is unwilling to live as a slave. The elder then begins to pray to earn his God's forgiveness as well. Daniel distracts him and shows him the true face of their gods. All the slaves get up from their knees, and the earthlings from the company of teenagers goes to the pyramid. RA, under the guise of slaves delivering minerals to the pyramid, the military and the children sneak inside the pyramid where a firefight ensues. The gate to the pyramid slams shut and some of the attackers are left outside, under fire from the stormtroopers. RA orders his fighter to immediately send a bomb to the ground. At this time, the colonel finds the bomb near the gate and activates it to finish his mission. One of the guards wounds Shori, at which time a portal to the ship opens. Daniel takes his beloved and jumps into the portal, and the guard who opened it appears in its place and attacks the colonel. Daniel brings his spouse to Brow's sarcophagus. While the colonel gets a hard slap from the guard, Daniel manages to heal his spouse. In an attempt to get away from the ship, he flees to the portal where he finds Roz and he begins to fry his brain to a crisp with a microwave built into his arm. Polkan, meanwhile, while fighting the Guardian, activates the portal with a device on his opponent's arm. The portal cuts off the Guardian's head, but Daniel and his wife are lowered into the pyramid. They lost a lot of time because of the fight, and Anil tries to disable the detonator timer. But apparently RA has made changes to the device and the deactivator does not work. At this time, the remaining military and children are taken at gunpoint by stormtroopers, but an elder appears on the horizon with all the remaining inhabitants. They rush at the enslavers with hoes and sticks. RA realizes at the sight of this that his authority is completely undermined, and the situation on Earth is now repeated on this planet. So he packs his bags and leaves his well-fortified place in a hurry. Balkan and the scientist puzzle over how to deactivate the bomb. They come up with the idea to teleport it to Ra's ship, which by this time so incidentally left the atmosphere of the planet. With the help of the remote control on the hand of the dead Guardian, they successfully carry out their plan. RA, seeing the bomb on his ship before his death, manages to take his true form. A few days later, the colonel and the rest of the military say goodbye to Daniel, who has decided to stay on this planet with his wife. He asks Anil to give the medallion to Catherine. The friends say their goodbyes and all the military return to Earth.